I give the call to the honourable member for Fowler for her amendments 4 and 5.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I ask leave of the House to move amendments 4 and 5 as circulated in my name together.
Is leave granted? I call the Attorney-General.
Leave is granted.
I call the honourable member Fowler to move the amendments 4 and 5.
Mr Speaker, I ask leave of the House to move amendments 4 and 5 together as circulated in my name. My fourth amendment will seek to ensure that when the Commissioner
Fowler,
plans—
I'll just get you to formally say I move amendments 4 and 5 in my name.
Oh, I thought it— okay. I move amendments 4 and 5 as circulated in my name. Thank you. My fourth amendment will seek to ensure that when the Commissioner plans to make a public statement about the investigation, they must consider to need to firstly provide context to which a witness is called, and secondly provide support against the onslaught of public scrutiny that may arise throughout the investigation. The Fifth Amendment aims to ensure that those who are facing an inquiry will be able to at least share the fact they have been summoned with their spouse, unless the spouse is also under investigation, to alleviate pressures and provide support during a time that's no doubt stressful and in some cultures tremendously humiliating. These amendments tie in with Amendments 1 to 3 to ensure that individuals who are called into an inquiry will have the support they need, especially those from non-English speaking backgrounds. May I remind this House that one of our democratic cornerstone is the fact that people are innocent until found guilty. As I'm sure many in this House will know, the 24/7 news cycle and social media can be the harshest of judges. It can be damaging to your reputation and mental health. Mental health awareness in Australia has been growing, particularly in the last few years due to COVID. However, in many cold communities, mental health is not often understood and misrepresented due to language barriers. In my own language, Vietnamese language, the direct translation of depression is either called mad or sad. There's not a word in the Vietnamese language that can properly convey the depths of despair one might feel if they were to go through a bad mental health spiral. For anyone caught in front of an inquiry, it's surely an intimidating feat. But if English is not your first language—
The member is entitled to be heard in silence.
But if English is not your first language, and if your own experience with authorities has been in your home country with less democratic pressures, it will be terrifying. Such was the case of the director for developer of company Wu International, who took his own life after being called as a witness into a New South Wales ICAC investigation. While he was named in the media, I have chosen to be respectful and not name him again due to cultural sensitivity. In his suicide note to his wife and daughter, he wrote that having ICAC officers fronting in his home doorstep to serve the summons reminded him of his father back in China when the CCP officers turned up and at the home to arrest the father. He was also informed by ICAC not to share that he has been summoned with any individuals, including family members. Yesterday I read an excerpt of his suicide note reported in the Sydney Morning Herald, and today I will read another. I have decided to leave this world, which is also my last hardest attempt to prevent you and our daughter from becoming family members of quote-unquote a criminal. This is because I'm still innocent at the time I wrote this letter, he wrote in his suicide note, which was translated into English. Whether it is a private or public hearing, it is clear that these investigations take a toll on an individual, especially if they're called to witness and they are not found guilty yet. A mental toll, even if they're called simply as a witness. Corrupt conduct must always be investigated, and perpetrators must always be held accountable, but this should not be at the expense of someone taking their own life. In the above cases I've just painted, had the director known he wasn't alone, had he known he didn't have to shoulder the burden alone, and that he could have spoken to his wife and another mental health professional, then maybe he would still be alive today. Maybe his daughter would not be growing up without a father. In sum, it is our responsibility as lawmakers to ensure that legislation doesn't have adverse impacts on individuals and communities. It's my hope that these amendments will protect those who may be called into a public or private hearing to provide an honest account without being unjustly scrutinised by the media and overall by the public. After all, we live in a democracy and we have the right to have a fair trial before proven guilty. Thank you.
I thank the member for Fowler.